unknown Kazakhstan. My name is Jana Alisherova and I'm a discovery hunter. Climbing up to the very top in order to plunge to the very bottom. Reeling up hundreds of kilometers in order to wind off hundreds of years. The unknown KZ crew already has a trace of sensational discoveries behind it, shared by self-sacrificing scientists and desperate travelers. This time our film crew arrived in the city of Shymkent to witness the Jeep trial. We are already familiar with organizers as we have been to competitions more than once. Thus, last year we've visited the GPS orientation race when, with the help of GPS navigators, participants had to pass through a huge territory in search of hidden points. The more difficult the point, the more scores their team receives. Everything was great. Lots of mud, rock and water. The operator can confirm this. There was a couple of serious river shallows, well, such normal shallows. The ouch moment was when we went underwater with the hook. It was a little bit scary. There were very high emotions. We liked it. It all happened as it should. We just got struck in one place and lost 1.5 hours there. But participants somehow helped us, dragged us out, and we managed to continue the race and did everything in time. All obligatory points were collected. In today's episode, how much does it cost to turn a regular vehicle into a real off-road machine? How important pure luck is in Jeep trial? What is the success formula of each of the teams? What did the guys prepare for this time? At the very entrance of the starting point, our automobile can barely squeeze, maneuvering between people and parked cars. The off-road is definitely gaining popularity. It is not for the first time when competitions are held in Togu's reservoir area. The organizers' favorite place has more than a dozen steep descents and rises, with the opportunity to arrange a real mud bath for the car. And of course, the river is an integral part of any races of this format. Not too fast, but deep enough to give an exciting spectacle to the audience and a dose of adrenaline to participants. The race itself. For those who do not know, off-road means the lack of good roads in English. It is a kind of active recreation and sport, implying overcoming off-road driving on an all-wheel drive vehicle, also called an SUV. The SUV crew consists of at least 2 people, a pilot and a navigator. The navigator is engaged in navigation, determines the route and directs the actions of the pilot during the off-road. The pilot drives the car and must have good off-road and extreme driving skills. We are at the very bullseye. The competition gathered over 500,000 spectators and dozens of participants from all over Kazakhstan. The distance consists of several stages varying in complexity. However, none of them can be called simple. You'll now see yourself. One after another, participants consistently pass the distance clearly marked by organizers. There is everything here: sharp slopes where it is possible to bowl over, mud pits where one may get stuck, and a river which is not easy to go through. Under the terms of the race, participants cannot leave the car, hence a winch or a shovel will be useless, and yet participants go on their marks.
Well,
it's exciting because of the race, of course. We hope that at least we'll get out. The same course with no options. The crew of Joly Kubanov and his grandson Jibek is the first to master the final stage of this race. They overcome the first distance quite successfully and quickly enough. Although participants are trying to do everything perfectly, they are not fighting for first place. Excitement and adrenaline are in the participants' eyes. The team is doing well so far.
Родители мне купили велосипед трехколесный. С того времени я на транспорте.
My parents bought me a tricycle and I've been driving since then. I used to go in for cycling and motorsport. I'm the winner of the 1968 Motocross Championship. And I haven't dropped it. Right now the time for car racing has come. I'm engaged in it and don't miss anything from the very first days.
Время пошло автоспорта, и с первых дней я не пропуская занимаюсь этим.
The crew driver's experience is of great importance. However, only in practice it is possible to find out what kind of terrain is hidden under the water. Here is one of the most complicated sections. Let's see whether the team will overcome this obstacle. Both a driver and a navigator have no right to leave a car. This is the regulation and we obey. But in fact, the off-road is such a word. It's a complete roadless route. If you got stuck, you have to pull out shovels and winches and get out of it. It's something like this. It's a difficult road for you to know. The possibility of using a winch right now would be useful to the crew. Slippery surface and the river flow ruthlessly drag the car into the water. Will the guys get out? Right now I can tell you that no one here has a car like I do. How many sports cars have you seen here? I'm the only to have one. Here is one secret. All cars are getting prepared. But everyone achieves it with their own mind. I've achieved it, I did it. Some athletes may have noticed this and they now come up and ask for advice. It is impossible to drive such a car just like this. While lying on the couch, one may say, I'm going to kick them in my car. But no, it's too complicated. To date, such car costs several million tenge, but let's count. How much will it cost to convert a workhorse into a real iron horse for passing complex distances? Nobody told us exact figures since everything here depends on personal appetite. Still, we dare to take mean values, and that's what we got. Wheels for such a car will cost you about 500,000 or $500,000 tenge. Plus alloy wheels, 150,000. Special sports suspension, shock absorbers and springs from 300,000 up to 500,000. Axles, suspensions, gearbox replacements with strengthening, 150,000 to 200,000 each. In total, about 600,000 tenge. If the car has a weak engine, it must also be replaced. Here the services of a master are needed. About 1.5 million tenge. The inside of a sports car is minimal but very specific. Thus the security cage will cost you about 100,000 tenge. The cost of the winch, which every driver of this car has, starts from 200,000 and reaches 1 million tenge. With optics and headlights, you either can keep within 100,000 tenge or cannot meet 500,000. In total, it turns out that to the cost of the car itself you will have to add 3 to 4 million tenge. But as the guys say, this figure is not exact at all because you will have to invest in repairs after each and every start.
На подготовку автомобиля уходит.
The car preparation takes, each time after the competition it takes time. Even now we will come home and again we'll have to check everything. Something will be broken, something will be torn. You always have to prepare everything for the sport.
До спорта готовить.
The majority of teams prepare their cars themselves. They can safely call fixing, preparing and upgrading their cars a hobby, and the competition itself a kind of an exam or the result of time they put back into a car. In addition, each crew has its own secrets, which they won't reveal. Here there are parts that need to be reconstructed. We'll have to find them because there are no such parts in stores. They can be at the guys, at friends, amateurs. We'll need to install them on our car, resharpen and drill them in order to be able to come up the hill or get out of the mud. Guys do everything themselves. Meanwhile, we return to the distance. Let me remind you that the crew of Abdujalil Kurbanov and his grandson Otanbek successfully passed half the distance. But at the water stage, the car was almost carried into the water. Still, heroes of our program practically managed to get off with a whole skin. It is simply impossible not to note the jubilation of the public, which certainly gives the competition a special atmosphere. Everybody is worried for a car having got into a trap. Everyone here feels like a race participant and of course tries to help with advice or even physically. Age, gender or status here are irrelevant, although there are those who are watching the race from a side, still closely following each team. When we hold this event in spring and summer, it even looks like a picnic. Residents come here, put umbrellas, tables and grills. They sit and relax in nature. The grass is green, people watch races with children, and this is very pleasing. This discipline is more for spectators. If the orientation competition is rather for athletes, then this is a show for the audience, is a holiday. The show really succeeded. Here is another crew that sat down where the previous ones had been a few minutes ago. Mud slurry, almost excavated by previous cars, has become deeper and it is almost impossible to get out of it. The difficulty is great. There is a couple of special sites which are complex. The route itself in principle is passable, but some areas are marshy. They do not let go till the end. Luck gives much in the trial. What kind of starting number will you pull out? We've participated plenty of times. Many competitions were held, and we thought that it will be the other way around, that it will be difficult for the first crew and easy for the last one. Neither experience nor skill helped the guys. The car is stuck tight, and even when they officially left the distance, it wasn't easy to pull the car out. We've easily stuck, just stopped and stuck, but it was more difficult to leave. Even the winch, it was hard to pull the car out using it. Every crew and all participants of this race are really full of excitement and emotions. There are no rivals as such at the distance. They are people united by common interests. It's adrenaline. It's pure adrenaline. I know it by myself. It's just, I can't even find the right words. You're shivered. You leave the car shaking right after the race. Have you done good or bad? But you always get your share of adrenaline. This is true for everyone. And then when it grows into something more serious, it's already professional racing. And of course, it's communication with people. Everyone is waiting for this day to come, to gather and talk. You drove 15 minutes, but you have several hours to see friends from Almaty, Taraz, and from other cities of Kazakhstan. This is a form of leisure for many people. Meeting with friends and like-minded people is certainly a pleasant occasion, but nobody will refuse this pleasant taste of victory. Today, a constant race participant, Konstantin Skrinnikov, is the owner of these treasured emotions. The crew reached the first place on the GAZ-69 car, leaving the rest of participants behind. The Jeep trial competition is over. The car has found its owner and participants, tired but satisfied, return home to eliminate breakdowns and further improve their cars, to go back to the distance. For them, it's not just a sport, but a state of mind. Zhanna Alisharova was with you. See you next time.